The idea came to me from an article I had read in the Atlantic Monthly called What is the Koran? And it was a story about a treasure trove of documents, actually a paper grave is what historians call it, that was discovered in a mosque in Yemen. They were fragments and pieces of the earliest Quran known to Islam. And the Yemeni authorities wouldn't let anybody investigate the find in total. They wouldn't let anyone come in and examine all the pieces. They just farmed out little pieces here and there to scholars. And there was a lot of speculation as to what was being hidden. Why couldn't people see the earliest Qurans known to mankind? And I, as an author, I'm always thinking, what if? And I thought, could they be hiding something? Is there some sort of information in there that they don't want the rest of the world to know about? And that's where my idea for The Last Patriot came from. Shortly after 9/11, an article was published by a librarian at the Library of Congress that talked about Thomas Jefferson and his battle with the Barbary pirates of Muslim North Africa. And I was fascinated by this article because it described America's first war with an unconventional foe, in particular, radical Islam. And what really caught my attention about this article was this meeting that Thomas Jefferson and John Adams had with the ambassador to Tripoli in London. Thomas Jefferson said to this ambassador, "Why are you attacking American ships on the Mediterranean? We haven't done anything to you." And the ambassador for Tripoli said, "Because it is based upon the laws of our prophet, as it is written down in the Quran, that we are allowed to attack, take the goods of, and enslave all unbelievers. It is our duty as Muslims, and if we die doing this, we are guaranteed a place in heaven." And I thought, wow, this whole fight we have now with radical Islam is not new. This is an interesting way to bring together what we're facing now with something we faced historically in America's infancy. Thomas Jefferson actually, when he went to France to become the United States minister to France, he had bought a first edition copy of Miguel de Cervantes' Don Quixote. And Jefferson was famous for saying that he preferred to read literature in the original language. He spoke and read 7 languages, and he actually taught himself Spanish, so that on his transatlantic voyage, when he was going over to be minister to France, he could read Don Quixote. And in particular, Jefferson was interested in Don Quixote because Cervantes had spent 5 years in the Muslim dungeons of North Africa. He was very interested in what Cervantes' experience was like because all of Cervantes' work after he left the Muslim dungeons of North Africa harkened back to that. It was so barbaric, the treatment that he underwent there, that always haunted his writing. And Jefferson thought that by reading Cervantes, he could learn a little bit more about the foe that the United States was facing in the Mediterranean. There is a lot of speculation in the Islamic religion that the Prophet Muhammad was assassinated. And I was also fascinated with this concept that exists in the Islamic religion called abrogation, which developed during Muhammad's career as a prophet, where after several years he started having followers come to him and say, "Muhammad, you've just given us a revelation that really contradicts with something you gave us before." And Muhammad went away and thought about it and came back and he said, "If I give you something today and it contradicts something from the past, then that means Allah has given you something better and it cancels out that thing from the past. So ignore that thing from the past and pay attention to this." Well, this concept of abrogation is fascinating because it's what the Islamic fundamentalists are using today to justify their violence. They say that the peaceful verses in the Quran, and this is true, most of the peaceful verses come from the beginning of Muhammad's prophethood in Mecca, before he went to Medina and became a warlord. And when he was in Medina, the second part of his career as a prophet, those tend to be the most violent passages in the Quran. So as I thought about this concept of abrogation, I'm thinking about Islam and its connection with Thomas Jefferson and the Barbary pirates. I thought, what if the reason Muhammad was assassinated was because he had had a final revelation? And he went and shared this revelation with his disciples, and they didn't like it because it was going to abrogate all of the other stuff in the Quran, and they really wanted to keep this quiet, so they killed him. And that is where we get the full idea for this novel, The Last Patriot.